Hello and welcome to Piece of Pod, a podcast brought to you by South Coast law firm Warner Goodman. I'm Sarah Whitemore. I'm an employment lawyer and senior partner in the firm with over 30 years of experience. In this podcast, I'll be having conversations with law firm partners, business owners, clients and other contacts of mine, and we'll be engaging in conversations about running businesses, career journeys, and how to excel in the world of work. So if that's of interest, why not grab yourself a cuppa, get yourself comfortable, and let's dive in. On this episode, I'm joined by Shaun Brogan. Shaun's somebody who I've met through networking circles, and he has a business called BeGreen Cleaning, whose USP is ethical cleaning or green environmental cleaning. So I'm interested to find out a bit more about that. He also has an interesting model in terms of staffing, and I'm hoping to talk with him about that. So welcome to the podcast, Shaun. It's lovely that you've joined us today.
Thanks for inviting me, Sarah. I'm excited to do it.
Excellent. Well, I know a little bit about you because I've listened to a previous podcast about you, but our listeners and our audience don't necessarily know much about you. So can you tell us a bit about your business, BeGreen Cleaning?
Yeah, absolutely. BeGreen is an ethical, environmentally focused commercial cleaning business. We're based in Winchester, and what we're really looking to do is to deliver great cleaning to businesses of all sizes. But what we don't want to do is have a negative impact on people on the planet. So it's kind of good cleaning, doing good, rather than using harsh chemicals and nasty toxins and things like that, which are in a lot of existing cleaning products. And been doing it now for just coming up to 5 years. I think our anniversary soon, actually. And it's me and my business partner, who's my lifelong best friend. And yeah, it's going well. We purposely aimed the business originally at very much the smaller business because they just don't get great cleaning, and a lot of charities and CICs. So, you know, cleaning is quite a reputable, good industry with lots of good operators in it and things like that. But the really big commercial cleaning companies, you know, the Mighties, those sorts of people, they're absolutely top of their game. But as you sort of go down the scale of businesses, you can't always get the services and the added value that you get from engaging with a big one. And we designed the business that you could get a lot of added value services and benefits, but you didn't have to be a big customer or big company to do it. Because there's a bit of a gap in the market, because just because you've only got 5 or 6 people in your office, it doesn't mean you don't need regular, good quality, competitively priced cleaning. And that's what we started the business at, and it's developed because ultimately some of those businesses have grown and we've grown with them. And I think as we've got more established, the business itself has sort of taken a slightly different type of client in because our name's known. So our size of client is started to increase. But that's fundamentally what we do and how we do it, and I guess why we do it.
And when it comes to ethical cleaning, are we talking about the products you use, the processes you use, what is ethical cleaning?
It's kind of two things. It's ethical and environmentally focused. So for me, the ethical thing is fundamentally doing the right thing. So that's, you know, looking after the teams of people that work for us. That's being fair to our clients. It's also being fair to our suppliers. So it's, you know, for me, ethical is just doing the right thing, which is sometimes easier said than done. There are moments where you could take an easier route, but you think, no, let's do that. And on the environmental side, there's lots of cleaning products that have what's known as VOCs, volatile organic compounds or chemicals. And fundamentally, that's the smells you get in these cleaning products. And they're not good for you. So I'm asthmatic, and those wonderful smells can make you feel ill, give you sick building syndrome, things like that. So the environmental part is cleaning with cleaning agents wherever possible that don't have a negative impact on people or the planet. That's not to say that we can clean everywhere like that, but we can clean most offices from top to bottom using environmentally friendly products. Sometimes you have to have more traditional, harsher chemicals to get them up to the level, but once you get to that level, you can pretty much clean in a good way.
On a sort of maintenance basis. And about the equipment as well, you focused on things like recycling of equipment and making sure that
Yes.
that's
Pre-loved.
all part of it?
Pre-loved is the word I was told. So I will purchase second-hand equipment, and what we do is we clean it up, service it, put it back out. A couple of things. We're not chucking it away. We're giving it new life. And ultimately, the cost of that capital equipment is borne by the client. You know, you build those costs in. So if I can buy machinery at a cheaper price and get a return on my investment, it's a no-brainer. It's better because it's not going to landfill. It's better for the client because ultimately they're not paying for it, and it's better for us anyway because we're fulfilling the obligation that we want to not have a negative impact on the planet. So yeah, we buy pre-loved. Not everything can be pre-loved, but we buy pre-loved vacuums. You know, if you take a Henry or a Hetty, they're indestructible, quite frankly. So whenever they stop working, it's a switch or a fuse. It's nothing major. You can bring them in, fix them, send them back out.
But from a user point of view, it's often cheaper just to buy another Henry, and so there probably are quite a few Henrys and Hettys that are out there that are ready to come back out of retirement.
Yes,
so,
there are. Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
as a consumer, I would just they're not that expensive. I'll just grab
Yep,
another one
that's exactly
rather
what
than
it is.
having
Yep,
it repaired.
That's
And
exactly it.
I think the old businesses that used to be on every high street that repaired things of that sort just don't exist anymore, do they? So it's good that you're able to kind of, let's say, bring them out of retirement and re-love those pre-loved.
Pre-loved, that's the word, yeah. Yeah, and it works well.
So tell me a bit about your career journey. Did you start out in life wanting to run a cleaning company?
No, I didn't. I worked for one company predominantly all of my adult life. So I joined them at the age of 17. That's a company called Greenham. They're owned by Bunzl. Fabulous businesses. Great people. Really, they are at the top of their game in what they do. But I joined as a trade shop assistant. I had a family member that worked there, so I just kind of walked into that. I didn't knowingly think, yeah, that's what I'd like to do. And I loved it, and I progressed through the business until I made my way up eventually to the senior management team and the board of directors. And I did that, I think, for 7 or 8 years. And yeah, I learned an awful lot. I made some fantastic friends and acquaintances, and I had a great time. I had an absolutely great time. But I kind of got to the point where eventually it didn't sit right with me. And I only know that in hindsight. I didn't know it at the time. And I think what I've realised since I left there, that ultimately, as businesses get bigger, it fundamentally comes down to how much money you're going to make and what's the bottom line. And that's not to say they don't care and they don't do good. They do. But in the world I was in, it just became, how much are we going to make? And now I look back and I think, actually, that didn't sit with me. So...
and your own life goes on a bit of a journey, and you have a different view of these things. You know, what you think of as a 20-year-old chap might not be the same as a 40-year-old chap, and your own perspective on making money or doing good fluctuates across your lifespan.
You're absolutely right. I think what I've realised in the last 5 or 6 years is that I want to give something back. So I had a great career with Bunzl, lived well, earned well, lovely car, all of those sorts of things. But what I realised now is I was just consuming. I wasn't giving back. I wasn't making any difference in a way that meant something to me. So when I left, I took some time off, got myself fit, and because all I did was travel the country, stay in hotels, eat fabulous food.
Eat more food.
Yeah.
Three meals a day, I think, when you're in a hotel, weren't you? Yeah.
Cook breakfast if you want it.
Yeah.
Three quarters at night, and it's not good. So when I left, took some time. My friend, who's my best friend from nursery, sort of said to me, "What are you going to do?" And I said, "Oh, I honestly don't know." I'd always had this thing that, and again, it's hindsight. I'd always had this thing that I'd progressed really well, but I wanted to sort of say to myself, how could I do it if I didn't have a great team around me and a great infrastructure? There's nothing wrong in that, but you know that, could I go and play for another team and make the difference? And it never sat well with me to leave my industry and go into another or go to a competitor. But I'd always had that thing to think about, could I do it myself? And he used to have a cleaning business. Oh. So he hadn't done it for a couple of years, and he came to me and said, why don't we do a cleaning business and together? And I was like, okay, let me think about that. And I went away and I thought about it. And I went back to him and said, yeah, let's do it, but it has to resonate that it's going to do something good. So, in terms of the money I'm responsible for and the people I'm responsible for now, it's a small change compared to what it used to be. But I dictate where it goes and what good it does or doesn't do. And that matters to me. So I said, look, I want to do something good. And he felt the same way. It wasn't unique to me. He was like, no, I feel the same way. Let's go do something. The easiest way I sum it up to people is we could make £1 carrying out a task. But if we can carry out that task, it's better for people and it's better for the planet, and we make 50p, we'll take the 50p option now, not the pound option. And that's how we came to BeGreen, and we had all the fun of picking the names. And we have bootstrapped it, so we didn't seed any money in really. We just kind of, here's £1, we doubled it, we've done it like that. So when we look back, I'm sure you're the same. You look at it, and no matter how well you're doing, you think, we could just be doing a bit better and a bit more. But sometimes we look back and go, actually, do you remember when we sat in that hotel bar and conceived it? And,
with your blank piece of paper and wrote down your plans.
And we worked on your dining room table for 5 months, and then we got a first hot desk, then our second hot desk, then we got an office, then we moved to a bigger office, and then we got our little workshop and where it's all of that. Yeah. So,
and your 5th anniversary, so there are certain milestones. So 5 years, you do sort of stop at that point and look back to the start, don't you? And how far we've progressed and so on. So you come from a very large corporate.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Where there are lots of resources. Yes, they're focused on money, but they've got lots of resources. And you think, right, I'm going to start out and start something new. And there's lots of people in lots of big businesses thinking, I could do something on my own. What have you got any sort of tips on how you start a business, how you get off that an initial blank piece of paper?
Joe, that is a very good question. I think you've just got to go for it. If you're going to do it, do it. One of the things I found difficult in the early days was, putting together a plan, put together a budget. It's great, I can do all of that. But ultimately what you don't have is anyone to execute it. Mm-hmm. You kind of go, oh no, hang on, I've got to create the website or, So in my previous role, I'd have a marketing team, go to them and go, look, I'd like to do that. They did the creative bit, and you go, I love it. And I'd say to people, just get on with it and get out and see customers, because customers aren't walking through your office. Get out, network, meet people, gauge what's going on, and don't have it set in stone how you think you're going to do what you do. Because we had lots of great ideas, and as time went on in the first 6 months, of the 15 things we thought clients would like, we got rid of half a dozen. Yeah. But get on with it is what I'd say. Just make a start.
Yeah. And in that micro business stage, as you say, you are actually doing everything. But equally, you're in control of your destiny, because you stand or fall on what you do on these things. So if it is create a new website, there's no blaming the marketing team.
No.
If you want a website, you do it and you deliver it. And that's that. So there's a certain determination that's required for someone to be able to do that, I think, isn't there? To step out of the comfort of corporate and to do delivery themselves.
There is, but I think there's also, you have to have this realisation that it's not going to be as it was. So, create your website, and within reason, your first website, as long as it's up and it's there and it's got all the information that is pertinent, it doesn't matter how sexy it is, really. Mm. And I found that very difficult in the first 6 months, year, thinking, no, we can't do it like that. And the beauty of the relationship I got with my business partner is he had done it before. And he's like, no, that's way better. that's more than we need to get going. So it kind of brought me down on my aspirations of how we should do something, because ultimately you can just spend all your time procrastinating to get it perfect. And I'd say to people, just get going, just start out, get your website, go see people. It's as simple as. And the other thing that we did, which was a little bit different, I think, was obviously there's an hourly rate to cleaning. We just did cleaning for £10 an hour when we started. Now, we're worth more than that. Cleaning's worth more than that. But it's money coming in. And if you do a great job for £10 an hour, they ultimately might tell someone else who says, I'll tell you what, BeGreen came in, they were brilliant and they were super competitive. You then go, you get referred to them. Referrals are the best way to grow your business. And then you can charge them slightly more than you did them, and you start to get your price point up. But we took the view that we get money in rather than sat there.
So get volume to start with and then progress up to...
Well, just get out and do it.
Yeah.
Get out and do it, because there's no cash coming in, regardless of how great your marketing plan, your business strategy is, and all of those things. It was just get out and get some money coming in. Then we built up from there. And I think that helped us.
Yeah. And did you get out and do it? Were you mopping floors and wiping surfaces?
Yeah, I was, yeah. Yeah, I mean, and we will do today. We've got, it fluctuates, but we've got over 50 people at the moment working for us. But there will be times that we will go and help them, or someone will call in sick, or they can't make it. And, if the client's 5 minutes from my house and it's a couple of hours, it's probably easier if I just go do it myself than show someone who doesn't know how to do it. So, it's got less and less because it has to, and we want it to, because we're running the business. But there are the odd occasion there is the odd occasion when you just go, I'll do it, it's easier. Do it on my way home, sorted. And it's good to keep your hand in as well, because suddenly you realise, you think, oh, hang on, this has changed a bit. But yeah, you still do it.
And if you're talking to the people on the front line who are actually delivering the services, then you've got a better understanding of how to adapt the strategies of the business. I think you've said previously, if you talk to the person on the front line and say, how can you do your job better? If they say, I need a bigger mop, we'll get a bigger mop. Yeah. There's no point sitting in your ivory tower thinking, I wonder what they need to. It's the people on the front line that can help. It's
the phrase, isn't it? If you want to dig more coal, go to the coalface and ask them. So it is about talking to the operatives and finding out what the barriers are for them in terms of increasing their output or performance, or actually just making life simpler, because cleaning can be quite a strenuous task on the body, particularly mopping things like that. If you've got to mop a large area, it can take its toll. We keep in contact with our operatives. We use an app, so we're a digital first business in the cleaning space because it's just the way to go. But we have an app and everybody chats on there, and we try and make it more communal rather than just here's your shift, get on with it. So we try, because we want people to want to work for us. Not everybody wakes up and says, I'd like to clean today. That's my role in life. We're aware of that. So it will be people that have issues, people that want a secondary income, people that are on some sort of benefit or income support, and they don't want to earn over a certain amount of money. So we operate understanding that, and we bring them into the business in different ways, subtly, but we try and make it that it's ultimately, it's okay working for BeGreen. It's quite not, I don't want to clean, but if I do, I clean for them because they're all right. They look after us, and it's good.
So you talk about having 50 staff. Are these
50 people, should I say?
50 people. Are these employees?
No. I do have a couple, but most of them are subcontract. So when I started the business, I went and got advice from different fields of people, and everybody said to me, you've got to do subcontract. And I came from a world where I was salaried. So, and in fact, starting my own business, it sort of horrified me to not think about getting a basic wage and paying myself, and it terrified me. But what I actually found was that most people do actually quite like working in that format, because we have some people who've gone on to start their own cleaning companies, so they've been entrepreneurial with it. A lot of people don't earn enough to make a difference in terms of they want to be employed by it, and then other people on benefits and income support. But as it's always, it is and always will be my ambition that ultimately we will transition from one to another, because I think it just gets too unwieldy, and I think we're about at that point now where we'll start to take people on employment terms rather than subcontract. But we, people really quite like it, which shocked me, because I thought no one's going to want to work like that. But that is how we operate.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because the Labour government have come in.
Yes, they're going to change
their plan to make work pay or whatever it is. But they're very much about protecting people from being exploited in those situations.
Yeah, they are.
But there's not an awful lot of recognition for people who choose those situations.
Yeah.
And in the job I have, we talk to lots of people who have these sorts of subcontracted arrangements where, perhaps they're a student and it suits them to only work during term time and not during exam time, or they want to have control of their hours and to be able to choose when they work. Whereas obviously,
they do.
As an employee, particularly 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, that's when you work. You don't sort of get up on Monday morning and think, well, I'm not bothering now, or this week it doesn't work for me. So there are circumstances where your type of arrangement suits.
Yeah. Not everyone, though. I tend to find the older demographic, a bit like me, are used to, my tax and I is all sorted. But we've started to do it, so we've got a couple at the moment. I think the other thing I'd say is, workers' rights are there to protect them. And I think you said the word was not to be exploited. I would say that, firstly, as an ethical company, we're trying to do the right thing regardless of what the scenario is. And the other thing is, you can be employed as you would know, and people will still exploit you, break the employment laws. It's more about the people running the organisations and the business and how they treat and want to treat people. We very much see them as assets and as partners. So, we truly value them, and we don't really have any conversations where we have to take people to task, for want of a better word. We'll have an adult conversation with them and say, look, what you're doing there, it's not right, it's not good enough, they're not happy, we don't want that. People get it. People get it and understand it. So I think it comes down to how you approach that situation ultimately. But people do like the freedom, and you're quite right. The student sort of age and upwards, it's all they kind of know, and they like it. Under the way we operate, I can't insist that someone goes and cleans that if I've given them the work. I just have to insist the work is done. They can send in someone else. That's entirely up to them, and some do. It
was an eye-opener for me, actually. So there's lots of cases relating to what they call it the gig economy. And it started with Uber and taxi drivers and whatever. But the case that really was an eye-opener for me was the Deliveroo case.
Yes.
And in Deliveroo, those cycle couriers, or whatever you want to describe them as, were determined by the courts to be self-employed because they were able to subcontract. Yeah. And I had no idea that your Deliveroo driver might rock up at Wagamama's or wherever, collect your food, and then give your food to Brian, who could then give it to John, who could then give it up to them if they wanted to. Yeah. They had stipulations that they had to use their app. So presumably your guys, if they pass it on, have to use the app. And they had to let Deliveroo know if they were using a different method of transport, because obviously that would impact on the time it took them to do the delivery. But it blew my mind thinking about my food going through a number of different people on its way to delivery. But I'm not sure they all do that, but there was certainly a significant proportion who did.
And I think the other thing it does is it does help those that way minded. It can encourage entrepreneurs because they kind of go, hang on a second, I've got too much work here. I'll farm that out to one of my friends. And that's what we see. And then eventually we see people that go off and do their own cleaning businesses. We get a lot of people that work for us that have their own cleaning businesses, and they use us to supplement downtime, predominantly domestic cleaning, things like that. But they will come to us, and straight away from the way they talk and how they talk, and you got your own cleaning business. They go, yeah, only domestic. And we're like, look, that's great. So they work in the day, but they need a couple of hours at night or in the weekend. and they work for us, and they dip in and dip out. So there's no real cost to us to bring them in and out. It works perfectly for them and for us.
So it kind of levels things out for them, because when you're setting up your own business, there can often be sort of feast and famine.
That's what they want.
Worked really well this week, but actually next week there's no work at all, and it's hard to keep that maintained.
And ironically, we can give them work, because being a commercial cleaner business, people just go, oh, do you do domestic? And we'll go, no, we don't, because we don't want to. But if we've got a pool of people working for us and they do domestic, we say to people, no, we don't, but one of our team has a domestic cleaner business and they're based near you. Would you like me to? And we just pass it on and go. And I think people certainly know the people that we subcontract with like that, and they trust us for it, because we're like, it's not our business. We don't want to do it. It's a different model. It's a different requirement, and we pass it on, and we actually end up giving them work sometimes. But yeah, it works well. It does give them stable income whilst the rest of their business is a bit volatile.
Yeah, it's interesting. So you would say that the key element of being an employee is a thing they describe as mutual trust and confidence. It's an implied term in every employment contract. Mutual trust and confidence. And yet it sounds as though you've got that mutual trust and confidence between you and your subcontractors. It's very much that sort of, we do the right thing by you, you do the right thing by us situation.
We work very hard at that, I have to say, and it is a key cornerstone. And it's the same with our clients, though. And we've been wronged by people, but you know, the difficult thing is to not change your outlook and your approach when you have been wronged, and say, right, that's it. Now, you know, it's ironclad agreements and things like that. But ultimately, we just go, no, that if we do that, they're going to change. They're changing how we operate, and that's not what we're about.
No, absolutely. So during your career, then you've been employed in big business, and you've run big teams, and presumably you've been involved in motivating and recruiting and all those sorts of things, and now you've got your own sort of self-employed business, and you've got this different model where they're not employees. Obviously, without sort of disparaging your former employer, not wishing to sort of cast aspersions, are there any lessons from big business, being employed by big business, that you've taken with you through to managing this?
Yeah, loads. I mean, I learned an awful lot at Greenham's, and I learned the commerciality. It honed my senses in that regard, and it was great. But I think you learn in two ways. I think you learn the things you like to do and you enjoy doing, and then you learn things and go, I don't want to do it like that, or I want to find a different way. And I think that's definitely a takeaway for me that I learned at Greenham's was, be honest with people, be upfront, tell them the truth. I think people appreciate that more than anything. Good or bad, let them know. And then they appreciate that. They may not like it, but they'd rather know. When they find something out and you haven't told them, or that really, then people have distrust and go, well, you didn't tell me that. Whereas if you go, look, I'm really sorry, we can't do that. Here's why. Appreciate it doesn't help you. I get that, but it is what it is. Most people go, no, all right, okay, I'm not happy, but I appreciate you telling me and I accept it. And there's a level of respect and understanding. So be straight with people. Polite, courteous, professional, but
don't play games.
And don't mess people's holidays, tea breaks and
tea breaks,
and don't mess up their tea
or their parking or move their office.
There are a few things you go, do not disrupt that. That will cause a riot.
Absolutely. So as a manager at Bunzl and Greenham's, then how did you approach recruitment and engaging and motivating staff? Did you have to deal with issues that were less than positive, and you had to...
I mean, particularly when I was in my senior part of my career there, ultimately I oversaw a lot of appeals and things like that where people had a disciplinary in the result. I was the next level up, so I had to, I think I had 238 people in my side of the business. If anything happened to them and they weren't happy, the appeal ultimately would come to me. And again, it is, I think, just being straight with people, understanding their point of view, listening to them. And I think if you go back to motivation, I think talk from the heart. I mean, tell them what you're going to do, tell them why you want to do it, tell them the part they play in it. I don't think it's difficult. I find people respond best like that. So it's I've never found that difficult. I think I'm quite fortunate in the fact that I'm quite happy to interact with people and be straight and talk and say, this is what we want to do. Not a keyboard warrior. I would always, if it matters, I'd get people together.
Yeah. One of the changes that Labour are bringing in is to change the eligibility for unfair dismissal claims. So at the moment, for most unfair dismissal claims, you have to have been employed for 2 years.
Yeah.
But we found over the last, decade or more, that actually there are lots and lots of different claims that people can bring when they don't have 2 years service. And in particular, if I go back to when I started out in discrimination 30 years ago, there were just 2 protected characteristics, gender and race.
Yeah.
Now we've got 9, lots and lots of different things.
Yeah.
And so the what resonated with me there from what you've said was this sense of treating people fairly. And we talked to employers who are like, well, how are we going to deal with the change so that people have to be treated fairly from day one? Well, if you treat people fairly generally, you're going to be able to comply with fair dismissal procedures, because you will be doing things like inviting them to meetings, letting them have a companion, telling them in advance what the allegations are, all those sorts of things. And why not do that from day one? So it will be interesting to see how things change and progress under the new government, but we'll wait and see.
It will change, that's for sure. I mean, they've set the stall out quite early on those things, because I did notice that.
Yes.
And I thought, they're definitely going to go to town on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But again, you will know better than me. People, employers or employees, there'll always be the 2% or the 5% that will just do what they want, regardless of what the law says or what's fair and equitable.
Yeah.
I think the thing for me is don't legislate for the minority, legislate for the majority. Yeah. So if you've got loads of people that work for you and on the whole they're pretty good, they do a good job, but you have somebody that, I don't know, fiddles their expenses, let's say, don't, for me, I'd never chastise the masses. It's
we'll not introduce a new policy for everybody
because we found no, someone's done that, and we should tighten things up, but don't make everybody's life hard because we've had some selfish individual that's decided they want to, or but again, like I said, it is businesses, it's employers and employees. It's legislate for the masses, not the minorities, is what I would say. Yeah,
absolutely. Now, Greenhams and Bunzl wasn't your first experience of working hard for a living, was it? Your childhood involved some. I mean, you didn't go down the mines or up the chimneys.
No.
But you worked on your dad's fruit and veg.
Yeah, I did. Probably, I don't know, the age of 6, maybe 7. So my father did fruit and veg, and it would be getting up at 4, going to the wholesalers, picking up everything you want, then driving for a couple of hours, setting up the market stall, working an entire day, breaking it down and going home. And my dad used to pay me £10. And
it's below the minimum wage, just to let you know.
Yeah. And I used to do that for him on a Saturday or in the week if it was school holidays. And, I hated it.
You did?
I hated it, I did. But to start with, I did. But actually, when I look back, it made me a natural salesperson. Because as I say to people, sell a cauliflower. There's absolutely nothing endearing about cauliflower. So, when you want to sell a value-added cleaning service or some sort of safety equipment, there's thousands. There's so many features and attributes. It's actually quite easy. A cauliflower is a cauliflower or a potato,
Till you start talking about cheese sauce.
There you go. But you don't eat cauliflower on its own.
No.
You have it with something.
Yeah.
And so it learned me to get out and be in front of people and to become comfortable at talking to people and engaging and listening to them. And you kind of learn from that age as well that actually just being out there means you can make something happen. So it taught me an awful lot. It really did teach me a lot, but I found it hard to start with that. All my friends are off playing, and where are you? I'm off to market. I'll see you.
Yeah. Do you look back and thank your dad for instilling, a work ethic in you and for giving you these sort of skills in terms of, sales, or do you think? Oh.
Yes and no, I guess. I mean, yes, I do, because it did give me a lot of great attributes and it taught me a lot. But I think also in a way, it didn't help me because it just made me work. So it took me a long time to deprogram myself to just not work. So there is a benefit to being in the mindset where you go, I can do that. I'm not trying to working hard. But as I've got older, I've realised, I thought, actually, why am I working today? I don't need to. I shouldn't have to. And on that side, I've had to, but that's me as an adult. But yeah, I mean, he's still alive. He's 96, funny enough, and it was amazing. He would do it day in, day out, and just kept going. But it does teach you hard work and certainly a sales craft, that's for sure.
And did your dad? So 96, that's amazing. Yeah. Did your dad give you any advice along the way that's helped with your business, or?
My dad, even to this day, still gives me advice. He does give me a lot of advice, to be fair to him. He always says, look after the money, which I do. I'd certainly do in this business. Cash is king. And understand your customer, understand what it's about. And if you can't help them, don't be there. You're not going to sell fruit and veg to somebody who wants meat. Therefore, don't talk to, it's no good to them, it's no good to you. And I know it doesn't really work like that, but that's absolutely right. There's people we've engaged with previously, and you kind of go, we're not for you. You do want cleaning, but you don't want what we do, the way we do it. And therefore, it's not really beneficial to you, and it's, other than it's income for us, it's not really us, and it just doesn't work right. And he certainly, I picked up those two things. I didn't realise it until I got older, but I definitely
absolutely.
Picked up those two things.
It's all about legacy, isn't it? This is what you've picked up from your dad, but what are you passing on to the next generation? What will your children say? Well, they're not children really now, are they? But what will your young people say that you've passed on to them?
I think I've shown them that you can change regardless of what age you are, because I was away 5 days a week, and I'd work at weekends, and my wife did all the things with the kids while I was away, and I missed a lot of stuff with them. And whilst I did what I did for the right reasons, I do regret that. And I think my children, because they said it to me, they never thought they'd see me now the way they see me. And they're like, you really have taken a different path, Dad. I'm pleased for you, but I'm happy for me. And I think I've shown them it doesn't matter what you do, you can change if you want to change. If you really want to do something, just go ahead and do it.
I think there's much more flexibility now than there was when we kind of left school. When we left school, you either went to university or you didn't, and that was it. Whereas now, as youngsters, they can make their choice when they leave, not go to university, but then in a few years' time, go back to university or not. I think there's much more flexibility, and as you say, they'll recognise that from seeing what you've done with your own changes. So
they would have never thought that it would have happened. When I said I'm going to start a cleaning business, I think they thought I'd had some sort of mental illness.
Right. Okay.
Because they were like, what? And I was like, yeah, like, no, sure. They thought I was joking for about 2 weeks. I was like, no, I'm definitely registered it, I've done it. And they're like, well, how are you going to do it? And it's like, I'll have to learn it. I'll have to learn. I know business, I know commerce, I know how to make money, but I'll have to learn the bits that go on the edges of it. And they were very surprised. But
now, Dad Brogan had you on the fruit and veg stall.
Yeah.
Have you had the kids out cleaning?
I have. They have their own careers, so they certainly don't want to take over on me. I know that much, and that's fine. But they have helped me. So I've occasionally, when we started the business, I was like, look, can you? And they've been magnificent, and they always stepped up. I said, yeah, if you really need us, we'll do it. And they'd cancel their weekend or whatever. So they have, and if they need extra money, they always knew they could come, and I'd say, I've got some work for you. And they've been great like that. They have been great.
Presumably they just log on to the app?
Yes, they do.
Pick up some shifts?
They don't like that bit. They feel that's me checking on them. I'm like, well, everybody does it, so,
Well, that's all been very interesting. Any final words of wisdom or top tips you'd like to share with our audience at all?
The only thing I would say is, I've definitely, as I got older, I've realised life is short. Don't wait to do the things you want to do or the things you want to try. Get on with it. the time will come when you can't do those things, and it comes a lot quicker than you realise. And I've really got an insight of that when I turned 50, because 50 felt older, a lot older than 40 for some reason. So I would say to people, if you're harbouring an idea, a plan, an aspiration, go for it. Try and make it happen. Better to regret the things you've done than the things you didn't do. That's what I would say.
Absolutely. Now, if you've seen our podcast before, you'll know that we end with an audience-sourced question. So,
okay.
in the envelope here,
yeah,
we have your question, Shaun. So,
okay. Do you want me to read it out?
Read it out. Let's see what you have to say.
If you make it to heaven, I'm hoping that I would, what would you expect God to say to you when you get there? I'd normally say something witty, like it last year here. I think I'd like him or her, whoever they are, to just say, I noticed you did your best and you tried, and I pride myself on trying to do what I think is right, and I do live my life by doing what I think is the right thing to do, and I'd like to hear that. I'd like to hear someone say back to me, "You did try and do the right thing." I know I'm not always right, but my intentions were always the right ones from my perspective.
Brilliant. I love that. Shaun, if anyone wants to get in touch with you, if they need their premises cleaned or they just want to talk a bit more about developing their own business, etc., how do they get in touch with you?
Well, you can look at the website, my contact details on there, which is www.begreencleaning.co.uk. That's one word. Or email me, Shaun, SHAUN, @begreencleaning.co.uk. And it isn't just about, genuinely, I'm not just interested in clients and think if I can help anybody in terms of how I do things, or if they want to, they want to improve their own cleaning. I have spoken to other cleaning businesses and helped them. I just think, time is short on planet Earth. Help people. So I'm happy to help anyone if I can. It's not just about money. In fact, it's probably not.
Perfect.
All
Brilliant.
right.
Well, thank you for your time today. It's been a pleasure.
No, thank you. I've really enjoyed it. It's been fantastic, and it's been lovely to have this conversation.
Thank you for joining us for today's episode. I hope you found it insightful and empowering. To stay connected, why not hit the subscribe button? Or if you think your friends might be interested, why not rate us as a 5? To be first to know about upcoming episodes, follow us on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram and LinkedIn, where you'll find us at Warner Goodman LLP, or follow us on YouTube, where our episodes are at Piece of Pod. Thank you again. Until next time.